Okay, cool.
All right.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, awesome. So first thing I like to do is this. I like to get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
Get to know where you are as far as your studies are concerned.
Yep.
What's going well, what's going poorly, what you need help with, what you're hoping to get out of today.
Perfect.
So that I can have a better understanding as to, like I said, what you're really hoping to get out of today. Like if you said to me, Stu, I'm really struggling with freehold estates or less than freehold estates. Cool, awesome. Want to make sure that I touch on those for you. So talk to me about what's going on. Like, and also like if you have your test scheduled, if you're ready to go take it, what the story is, like the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Kara, and my dad's been in commercial real estate my whole life, and it's kind of always been something I've, thought about doing, but, I have a good job now. So, I just haven't ever gotten around to it. And with COVID, of course, just everything is slower at the moment, although we do have an 18-month-old, so she keeps us pretty busy, but,
wow. Yeah.
But, I just kind of thought it's a good time, just to buckle down and get it done and, just have it ready to go and be ready to use it when, and if I would like to, go to work for him. So I started studying, and, I did everything online. So I haven't been in the classroom. I did the 48-hour practice test all online, or I guess it's not practice test, 48-hour course. I did all of that online. And then I did pass the exam, the end of that, so that I can take my real exam. And I have that scheduled for Wednesday of this coming week.
Okay.
So 5 days. So really, all I've done is that course. And I did pass the end of that course, but I did not pass it with flying colors. And so I just am trying, to be honest with you, this stuff is boring, and it's pretty monotonous. And so it's just been hard for me to focus. And I found you guys on YouTube, and you're the best thing ever. And the videos are so helpful. And so I just really, for tonight, I might, depending on how tonight goes, I might schedule another session with you maybe on Monday. I saw you had some availability on Monday. But sure. I just really wanted to see how I should focus my time in the next 5 days or so. I am in banking, so the finance section is pretty simple to me for the most part, but there's just so much material that I thought it would be beneficial if I could get an overview of the key points that I really need to hone in on each section. And then,
sure.
Because I went down one rabbit hole of I was just taking practice tests after practice tests, and I was about to, I was falling asleep at the computer. So I was like, I'm not really learning. I'm not learning when I'm taking these practice tests. And there's got to be a better way. And that's when my husband's an architect, and he had to take a bunch of tests to pass to be a licensed architect. And he always found a really helpful YouTuber. And I was like, surely there's a helpful YouTuber for commercial or for real estate. And so then I found you guys.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you did find us.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we're helping you out a little bit. So let's talk about also, how much are you studying every day, or how much are you trying to study? Let's just say that.
I've been studying at least 2 hours a day, I would say.
Okay.
But that's broken up. I mean, it's not ideal studying time. It's, I'm studying, and then it's probably more like 3 hours, but I'm only actually getting 2 hours in because my daughter's screaming or
you're getting broken up, and so what I'll tell you is this, kind of going over like the study habits, study tips, study tricks. I don't ever say that like doing one thing is the end all and be all.
For sure.
I never say, oh my God, definitely, hammer home the practice exams, because I think that the practice exams are boring. If you're just sitting there taking practice exam after practice exam, Yeah, I'd sit there and want to jump off a bridge. I'd be like, no, I can't do that. But here's the thing too. It's not a bad thing. It's a thing. It's better than nothing.
Right.
But what happens is it's not giving you a well-rounded understanding of everything.
It's not.
And what it is I always tell my students, I'm like, it's like if I said to you, hey, I'm going to start training to run a marathon. And you go, that's fantastic. So what are you going to do? And I go, I'm going to go to the gym for 3 hours every day. You go, ooh, okay, dedication. I like it.
Right.
And then you say, so what are you going to do at the gym? And I go, I'm going to do bicep curls for 3 hours. You go,
right.
That's good. Like,
but is that going to help you get there?
Right. Like, so
yeah.
that's why a lot of my students who are like doing one thing are like, hey, I'm kind of bored with it. Hey, I'm kind of, I'm not retaining it. Yeah, because you need other things to kind of get you to where you need to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you need that. Okay.
Yep.
So
yep.
First and foremost, need to bring variety into it.
For sure.
One of the things that I'm going to tell you, vocab, and then when you're done with vocab, more vocab. Okay. So, and here's what I want you to do with vocab. Are you a prep agent member?
I don't think so. With you guys, no, I'm not.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm going to email you a link that if you want to sign up, so they know I sent you. And what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to show you one of the things that I like on Prep Agent, because here's the thing. I never tell anyone, you must do it this way. However, sometimes money is an amazing solver of problems, because what happens is this: you don't have a lot of time to write out a bunch of flashcards if you haven't already done that.
The only thing I did from the guy's videos on YouTube, I started going through my notes and doing like what he did with like one word to make my memory trail. So I've started doing that through all my notes, but that's going to take some time. So
so you can see my screen up here. What I like is I like the so if you go in here, the flashcards.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. I love them. They're easy, one word, 2 words, and also get access to the vocab worksheet, which you literally have all the definitions. And what I'll tell you is this: the reason why I personally like that is this. Bottom line, number one, you get your definitions there. And what I want you to start getting, okay, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the medicine that you need to take, regardless of whether or not, you have enough time to do it before your test.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the right things that you need to hear, but you might sit there and be like, oh my God, how am I going to do it before my test? I don't know. It was one of those things that you might, that's the truth. It's like, and that's why I'm not going to beat around the bush, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. So listen to this. You need to have a conversational definition down of as many words as you can. So what I usually tell students when they first start studying with me is I say, hey, what I want you to do is go on to, the vocab worksheet or the flashcards, and I want you to picture this. Picture you just sat down for coffee with your best friend, and your best friend says to you, hey, I just started taking real estate classes. And you're like, that's amazing. That's awesome. And they say to you, I'm having trouble with joint tenancy. Could you tell me a definition of that? Mm-hmm. And then what you would have is a nice, simple conversational definition that you would be able to provide to your best friend that's going to make it easier for you to understand. So that's really, and the truth is, that's what you want. You want that nice little unpackable definition, so that, because here's a couple of things that people always say. Oh man, the test was worded really weird, or the test was worded much different than I thought it would be. And then you sit there and you go, but if you have the definitions down, no matter how it's worded, you're going to sit there and go, oh, I know what that is. Yeah. Oh, I know what this is, you know? So that's one way. And also, flashcards, the reason why I like them, especially for someone who has kind of like the hustle and bustle lifestyle, you know, I have a very similar lifestyle. I'm very much so, hey, I have 5 minutes between, you know, between lessons, and like, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, you know, when am I going to get the time to, because here's the thing, I work with people in every state of the country. So what I try to do is brush up on each of the states a little bit so that I can help some people with some general questions and things like that. So when I'm doing that stuff, what I'm doing is flashcards, quick understanding. And what I'm doing is I'm lecturing while I'm, you know, listening to, while I'm sitting there walking the dogs, or while I'm doing something. Because like, what's great with flashcards is you could sit there and you could go boom, 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 boom. And also with the prep agent stuff, you can have it right on your phone. So you can sit there and just be like, yeah, okay, I'll do 10. I'll do, and you'll get to have that conversational definition. The conversational definition is exactly what you want to have.
Okay.
Like that's what you want to strive for.
Okay.
What I want to do is this. I want to show you around. I want to actually do some practice questions. And here's why I do practice questions with you.
Okay.
Twofold. Okay. Because we were just saying, oh my God, Stu, you're poo-pooing on practice questions, but now we're going to do practice questions. Well, the reason why is this. You don't have, you're like, hey, I want to do a little bit of everything. And what we're going to do is test your knowledge through seeing where your knowledge is with the with some practice questions. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to put a question up on the screen. Two things I want you to do. I want you to give me what you think the answer is. And also, if you're struggling between 2 answers or 3 answers, I want you to tell me, hey, this is what I'm struggling between. I'm struggling between this one and that one, because what I'm trying to do is I want to see your thought process when you're approaching a question, because your thought process is the thought process that you use to troubleshoot and problem solve a question. And what happens is this: you might have a very good problem solving method in your head, like it, but you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it because you would be sitting there going, I don't know if it's good or bad approach, you know? And then you might have some very bad habits that we may say, okay, we need to break those. So what I get to do is I get to see, you know, using my experience from seeing people take the test and be successful, as to what things you're doing or not doing that the successful people are doing, you know? And then we'll shoot for seeing, you know, what kind of conversational definition you have. So, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into a whole bunch of things. If I feel like you're getting it right and there's really not much for us to chew on, we'll go through and we'll just skip right through to the next one. Okay. We won't really focus on it too much. But if it's something I feel like we have a little bit that we could go over and we could chew on as far as the question is concerned, we'll go ahead and do that. So let's take a look. You can see my screen perfect, right?
Yep.
Perfect.
Also, just
go to the first one.
Another side note that I had written down, that if there's other, well, how much is this to get?
Well, there's different options. So you could see, again, what I usually tell you is this. It's something that you figure out what fits into your budget, you know, because you might say, oh, this doesn't fit into the budget. It does. It's something that personally, me, like I said, I'm an independent contractor. So I work with Prep Agent, and I use a lot of other tools as well. I own my own school out in my home state, and Prep Agent was the first one that I really did recommend for a while. So it's one of those that out of all the things you could throw money at, it's what I think is one of the better ones. But there's so many free options too, because really what you need to do is get a conversational definition of the information, right? So like that's your game plan. So again, if you're like, I don't have the time to spend for myself and I want something that's easy, flashcards right on there and practice questions and doing something kind of like what we're doing would be beneficial. But again, totally up to you. So
and then like on the YouTube stuff, this was just one other thought I had is I've been kind of scrolling, going through his videos as I have time. And I do that even like when my daughter's in bed, like I'll just sit there, and watch a couple hours worth of videos. I've been trying to. So I just also thought if you had any suggestions on videos that I should for sure watch, because he has a lot, and there's some that are like an hour long. And so I thought if there's any really good recommendations of videos online too, I could try to watch those.
Yeah. So if you go to YouTube, if you haven't found my channel yet, okay, I'll actually also email you a link to my channel.
Okay.
I do a little differently than Joe, and I'll email you that as well. I have about like 200 or 300 videos, and what I do is this. I do kind of my expertise is this. I go right into like daily questions. Okay, so like every day I go through and I'll do a practice question, stuff like that. So you'll see I have a lot of longer videos. I have a lot of things, but I like to go through like 3 minutes, 4.5 minutes just on questions.
Okay.
And these videos, just so you know, is me picking apart one question.
Okay.
So yeah, so like what happens is this. That's why I'm really, remember I told you I have that hustle and bustle lifestyle?
Yeah.
I basically cater to people who are like, hey, I have 5 to 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, cool. Like watch 2 or 3 of my videos. Like you'll see a question, how it applies. We'll talk about why that answer is the answer and why the other ones aren't. You'll get a little bit of information, and that's like, it's like I said, I always like to say it's bite-sized, it's short. I have longer videos on there, but take a look at my channel as well, because you might like some of those. And also there's a lot of other people on YouTube too that I do like. So that's why if you're finding that you're getting a lot of traction with the YouTube stuff, what I would tell you is this. This is another great tip. If you're watching the YouTube channels and you're like, oh, I'm trying to get an understanding of joint tenancy. Let's just pick on that one for a second.
Okay.
Type in joint tenancy, and then what I always say is this. Try saying it out loud, explaining it to your best friends.
Yeah.
You want to try explaining it to your best friend, because there's a difference between reading it, watching it, and then trying to explain it, because there's a lot of my students who go, I would know that if I saw it in the question.
Yeah.
And my response back is like, hey, do you really know it then? Like, or do you know it only in context with other words around it?
It's true. Yeah. Well, that's like just even after reading or watching what I just stumbled upon that guy's page, and that was one of the videos that I first watched the other night, and that's what he said. You just need one word. You need to see, appurtenances, and appurtenances is blah, and so just even going through my notes and just making a shorter definition of and then like you said, I try to talk it out. I'm only through chapter 1, but even I feel like that's been a big help to me just to do that in the last couple of days. So
yeah, and I'll tell you this, like I said, the daunting thing is like, you're like, hey, could I do this by the time I'm ready to take my test? No, maybe not, but that's still like, if you ask me what's the path to success, it's stuff like that. That's the path to success for you, because it rules out. See, if you just do practice questions, 2 things happen. You start to memorize the practice questions.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you start to get familiar with the way that author is writing the questions.
Yeah.
And it might be completely differently from the test. So that's why I'm not a massive fan of it.
Of just doing that.
But, yeah, so without further ado.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think I've got, it's only Friday, so I've got Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So I've got 4 full days left. So I think I can get through at least a lot of my notes. And
I think that if you tackle it with the right mindset, I think it's definitely doable, you know, but what happens is it's something that the person who's going to be able to assess that is you. And I'll tell you this, it really, and again, just like everything else, it's like, hey, do you want to go forward and do, you know, do the test with the level of knowledge that you have? You just want to get it over with and see what it's like, you know, without putting the pressure on yourself and saying, hey, look, I'm going to potentially fail, but you know, no, look, I'll tell you a real quick story. It's, when I was looking to take my instructor's exam for my home state, what I did was I was ready to take it. I was like, okay, when I get my eligibility, I'll schedule the test for 2 weeks from now, and then I'll study for 2 weeks. So I remember I got it at about 4 o'clock on a Thursday. And as I was cooking dinner for myself, I decided to put my Bluetooth headset in and I'll call up the testing center. So I did that. And I said, I like to schedule a test for 2 weeks from now, because that was my game plan. And she said, oh, we actually have a cancellation for tomorrow at 7 a.m. I was like, I said to her, I said, you're out of your gourd. I said, no way. I said, I'm not doing it. She goes, this is what she said to me. She got a really low voice. She goes, don't tell anyone you're going to take the test, and just do some recon. See if you can figure out what it is you're looking for, what you're going to try to study. She said, and then you fail it. No one will know. And then you go and schedule it again for the next week. I said to her, I said, that's a good idea. And so I went in there. Now, here's the thing. I did like study maybe an hour or two the night before. You know, like I was just like, and literally what I did was I said, what's the path of least resistance? And I'll tell you exactly what I did. I tried to read the glossary. That was literally what I did. I just said, I'm just going to read the glossary once if I can get through it. And I did. I got through the glossary, and I then took the test, and I was so calm, cool as a cucumber. And I thought, I was like, yeah, no, we failed. We're ready for next week. I passed.
See? You did it.
So, yeah. So, listen, I tell that story. I tell that story because it's important to understand that. You know,
vocabulary is such a key.
In the budget, if it's in the budget and you can take it. And vocabulary, listen, if you want to win, vocabulary is key to everything. So let's take a look at this first question.
Okay. So the method of describing land that uses compass, degrees, feet, and monuments is known as, none of the other options are correct. Okay, not that one. Meets and bound systems, lot and block systems, street address. I'm gonna say the one that first comes to my mind is lot and block.
Okay, so when
I really don't know anything about it. I don't remember that part.
Cool. So let's talk about this. You ready?
Okay.
It's meets and bounds.
Meets and bounds. Okay.
Yeah. So there's 3 different types of legal descriptions of land.
Okay.
The first one's rectangular survey system. Do you know what that one is? It's also known as the government survey.
I don't really remember. I haven't got to that part in restudying. I remember touching on it, and I remember measure in the math problems, measuring, doing that, but I don't remember like the definitions of that area yet. Okay.
So then let me kind of give you my
that'd be great.
Conversational coffee worthy definitions of these things. Okay. So the lot
there's how many different kinds?
There's 3 different kinds.
3 different kinds. Okay.
Yeah. And they all have kind of like a couple different names that they could go by. Okay. Great. Fantastic. Right. We have more names that we could just call the same thing by. So the first one is lot and block system. That could also be referred to as meets and bounds. Okay. No, not meets and bounds. Listen to me. Lot and block system could also be referred to as recorded plat of subdivision. And I'll explain to you why it's called recorded plat, P-L-A-T, of subdivision. Because what happens is there's a plat map that's recorded in the town. So it's
Yeah.
actually a recorded plat map that has a lot and block system. This one is probably the most popular in the United States, okay? The most popular in the United States. They love the lot and block system. It's super easy. You can say that's lot number 15, block number 7.
Okay.
Done. And then you could reference that in the plat map in the township. Now, the second type of legal description that we use is that of meets and bounds. This one doesn't have another name. It's meets and bounds, okay?
Okay.
What it is this. If we took the property, okay, and let me do a little drawing, okay? If we took the property, and let's say this was the lot.
Okay.
And what happens is this. It looks kind of almost like an architectural blueprint, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what happens. You start anywhere on the map, anywhere, at a point of beginning. You describe it using feet, monuments, and man-made monuments called rebar, going all around the property in a clockwise direction, ending at the point of beginning. So, and here's what you're probably sitting there going, Stu, what's a monument? Like you mentioned a whole bunch of things in there. I don't know what those are, so let me clarify those. This is the older type of legal description of land. And what happens with this is they used to, so back in the yesteryears, and you'll understand the problem with this and why this is not prevalently used today. They used to say, oh, well, if you're trying to figure out 123 Main Street, will you just go 50 feet due west?
Yeah.
And then you'll hit Mr. Smith's oak tree. Oh my gosh. We are now 200 years later. Mr. Smith's oak tree is not there.
Right.
So this legal description, they're like, we can't use this. So what they do now is they use what's called rebar, which is like stamped metal or stamped concrete.
Yeah.
So if they're going to use the meets and bounds system, they'll use man-made monuments, okay? Because again, they used to use stuff like Mr. Smith's oak tree, and you know, like I said, you see the issues with having that. So this was typically used in the original 13 colonies, because they would just come over and they'd be like, oh, we'll do it this way. This is the easy way. And it seemed simple, but it really wasn't at the same token.
Right.
So they do still use it, and typically in the original 13 colonies, but it's usually updated for using man-made monuments like rebar. Now, the last one is called the rectangular survey system or the government survey system. And with that, there is a prime.
So that's not even on our little list here.
No,
So.
I'm just, listen, you're getting because again, remember I said to you, I said, hey, we're going to do questions.
Yeah.
But we're going to use it as a springboard to kind of,
For sure.
you know.
So it's meets and bounds, lot and block, and then what's this last one? Government
survey, also known as the rectangular survey system.
Okay.
So what happens is this in this one. North and south is a prime meridian line.
Okay.
East and west, there is a baseline. Okay. And we'll call that the baseline. And then what happens is they have other little lines in between that create little boxes. Love my drawings, huh? So each one of the little boxes, they call a township. In a township, it is 6 by 6. So if we're doing some math, that's going to be 36 square miles. So it's 36 square miles. And then each one has a section. So what happens is this. It breaks it down into further little boxes. And it has 36 sections that are 1 by 1 square mile. And what it does is it describes the properties using sections of sections to break down where the property is located. Now, if you think about it this way, look at a map of the United States in your head, okay? And look at the East Coast and see how every single state line looks like a 5-year-old had a crayon and they were just like, go we, okay? And then as they go out west, They go, okay, I think you need a ruler. Okay.
Right.
That's what happened. So what happened was they don't use this in any of the original 13 colonies. But in the westward expansion, okay, this is typically going to be the most prevalently used in anything that's out west, anything that's going to be in any of the western states, where if the state lines look like straight lines other than the coast, they're probably using a government survey system of some sort.
Okay.
And that it's because they saw all the errors in what they were using out east, and they were like, oh dear God, we need to abort. So that is, so in a nutshell, I just gave you all the legal descriptions for land and kind of like the brief. And again, if you want to use like a springboard for like what you're shooting for, my little couple-minute blurb on each of these, where I just know like I know the 5,000-foot view, and I could give you a little bit about each one. That's what you're striving for.
Perfect.
For as many words as you can have in your head.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
this little conversational chit chat, it's this. Because here's the thing, that would have been enough to answer this question and any question similar to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
meets and bounds, can we go over that again?
Of course.
That was the correct answer, right? Yeah,
because what happens is this. It's a method of describing land that uses degrees, feet, and monuments. As soon as it said that,
no, it's meets and bounds.
Well, here's the thing. It's also a process of elimination. Street address is an illegal description of land.
Right.
Well, lot and block system is describing the property using a recorded plat of subdivision, which is a map in the town with a lot and block. So the property will have a lot and block. The none of the options are correct is incorrect, because meets and bounds is the one where you're going to be describing the property, the perimeter of the property in a clockwise fashion from the point of beginning, ending at that point of beginning. So that's the situation right there.
Degrees, feet, and monuments. Okay.
Now, let's go to the next one. Let's see what else we have.
Okay. On a settlement statement, the cost of the required lender's title insurance policy is usually shown as on a settlement statement, the cost of the required lender's title insurance policy is usually shown as a credit. So it's the lenders. So a settlement statement in general would be they're closing the loan. And so the cost.
So they're closing on the home, they're doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to figure out, the cost of the lender's title insurance policy.
So that should go to the person who's buying the home. They would pay for that. So that would be, if you're buying the home, that's going to be a debit to the buyer.
Debit to the buyer. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yay.
You know, here's the thing. So you logic that out really well. I didn't think that you were going to have an issue on this. But what I always say is this. I'm going to give you like my 2-minute closing statement, like blurb about credits and debits. Okay. Basically, what you're trying to do on a settlement document is you're trying to figure out what the buyer has to take out of the bank to bring to the table to close. Yep. Okay. And what the seller is going to be walking away with after they pay all their fees, junk and whatnot. So that's basically what you're trying to figure out. So if it's a charge, basically what you're trying to figure out in this question is, hey, this is a charge to someone. So who's it a charge to?
Yeah.
Right. So that's why, and you logicked it out perfectly, which again, being in the banking industry, I didn't think this was going to be the one that was going to trip you up. So,
well, that's
that being
good.
said, let's keep going.
A listing with an effective date of March 12th and expiring on April 12th is for, well, that's weird. A listing with an effective date of March 12th, expiring on April 12th is for, that's a weird question. Do I just literally count the days? And also, is it trying to trick you because they only do 30 days in each month? So if
So
there's,
here's what I'm going to tell you. This is a perfect example of, remember I said to you, I was like, hey, I want to see how you're approaching the questions.
yeah,
I'm going to give you a little tip and trick because I used to write questions, and I have friends that write questions for PSI exams and Pearson VUE questions. So here's the thing. Literally every question is written with this in mind. So the authors, when they write the test questions, here's the little bit of information that they talk to you about is this. They tell the authors of the questions, the proctors cannot give any additional insight into the questions. So every question has to be written that if a student were to come up to a proctor and say, hey, I don't understand this, that the proctor could simply say, the answer is, that you reread the question, the answer's there, okay?
okay.
And if it's a bad question, would be one where someone who was like an instructor or someone like that would get the question and say, oh, well, what they're really asking you in this one is blah, blah, blah. So don't look too much into the question is the moral of the story, okay? So think about that and take a look at what you have here.
So we've got an effective date of March 12th. And then we're expiring on April 12th. So it would literally be 30. I mean, the answer that I feel like it is 31 days, but I feel like that's the wrong answer.
32, okay. So you must include all the days in this count, okay?
So don't do a 30-month or 30-day month?
Because listen to this. You ready? Because you're coming from the banking industry and you're thinking prorations and how you do a 30-day month, right?
Well, that's everything I studied was always a 30-day month. All of my math questions, they said to do it on a 30-day month.
Of course. Every single, so listen to what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you several things. You're correct in saying that. Every single math question, every single thing that you have to do is going to be based off of a 30-day month in regards to math. Because we work off of a 360 30-day calendar, unless they tell you otherwise. Right?
Okay.
So this question has nothing to do with math.
Okay.
Nothing to do with math. It just has to do with the calendar. They're saying, hey, we're in March. Because here's the thing, if you were counting days that a listing was effective, you would count the actual days.
Okay.
Not the banking calendar. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. So off the top of my head, I honestly can't remember if March has 30 or 31 days.
So here's the thing. It's always, and what I'm going to tell you too is this. I'm absolutely awful with those. So I
know there's a rhyme. It's like,
there's a rhyme. There's a stupid rhyme, but March has 31 days. Okay. So basically what happens is they're trying to test you to know if you got, so two things with this. They're trying to figure out, hey, did you get confused with the banking calendar and not realize that we're just talking about calendar dates here?
Yes.
Second, they're trying to figure out, hey, do you know that you have to include all the days? Like, that's basically
the start
what
date and the finish day. I see. Okay.
Bingo. So what happens is this. It's a little tricky, but at the same token, this is the kind of question that you would get on the test. Like, this is indicative of something that is like seemingly straightforward, but
it's not.
You could totally twist yourself into a tizzy on this one and just come away with this and just be like, I have no idea, you know? And that's why I say try to keep it as straightforward as possible.
Okay.
Like, don't overcomplicate it. If they're literally telling you, hey, we're starting March 12th, we're ending April 12th, what is the length of time? Don't sit there and be like, well, the math, I know I have to have 30 days. And then, no, don't even, just look at it, just go, hey. And that's because that's what they're trying to figure out, you know? So, not much else to chew on that one, other than that was really a really a good understanding of how to get yourself twisted around in a question. So let's look at this one. This one's a great one.
Right. I think I do that a lot, to be quite honest.
Well, here's the thing. Like, before you even look at this one, let me tell you this. More students get themselves wrapped up in the question. So here's the thing. That's why, like, a lot of what I tell you is, like, it might seem like no duh things, but like, people need to hear it, because I don't know when the last time you took a reading comprehension test was, but I'll tell you this. It probably wasn't, fairly recent, okay? Because most of the people that come to me have not taken a reading comprehension test in a while. And, one of the things you need to hear, because instructors and schools do not say it, is test-taking tips. Like, and if you're going on YouTube and looking up test-taking, if you're looking up all these things to get your knowledge improved, I would also look up test anxiety strategies. I would look up other things. Like, spend like 5 to 10 minutes a day just watching some YouTube videos on reading comprehension test taking tips, reading comprehension test tips. And you what happens is this. You might sit here and watch one of these top 10 videos and go, oh, wow, I never thought of it. And it might be something so simple that like, you're like, that seems really simple, but like, someone needs to bash it over your head, like, literally.
For sure.
So this is part of having the well-rounded, hey, like I said, doing the practice questions and just doing them ad nauseam, a quick way for you to hate real estate before you even get into it. And also, that's doing 3 hours of bicep curls and then walking away and being like, I'm going to be able to crush this marathon.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things that go into passing this test. So let's keep going. Let's look at this one.
Okay, definitions of market value are least concerned with. Definitions of market value are least concerned with market cost. So least concerned. Market cost, value in exchange, objective value, open market. Definition of market value are least concerned. So market value, what is it least concerned with? The market cost, value in exchange, objective value, or open market. I think it's either objective value or open market.
Objective value or open market. Okay.
If I had to choose one, I would say open market, because it doesn't seem to make, so I think it would be least concerned with that.
Okay.
Am I totally off?
What if I, yeah, you're totally off, but that's okay.
Oh, shoot.
So think about this for a second. Like, just think about this for a second. Market value. What is market value least concerned with? Actually, I'm going to tell you a story, and I hope that maybe this makes sense for you.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to let you kind of talk to me about what this is. So my wife, before I met her, my wife is an extremely independent human being. Okay. She's an Ivy League graduated doctor. Okay. She had a 600 square foot beach house built. Okay. So it was about 5 or 6 blocks from the water. So what happened was she bought a vacant lot and she built a home on it. So the cost to build a home really wasn't a terrible amount. However, that was kind of irrelevant, because even though it was a 600 square foot home, still had a lot of value because it was really close to the beach. She was about 3 blocks from the beach. So to build a 600 square foot house is nothing. So what do you think it might be least concerned with?
The cost.
Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
An appraiser or someone who wants to figure out the market value of my wife's 600 square foot beach house,
Mm-hmm.
they really that costs the same amount as building it 15 miles inland, but the market value is going to be totally different. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. The other things that you were tossing up between objective value. So that's what someone would find to be the objective value, like if they were being objective with the property in estimating it, or the open market. Because guess what? When she put her home up for sale, when she met me, and she was like, okay, cool, I'll literally kill you in a 600 square foot home with 2 dogs, 2 cats. She was like, we can't do this. So she was like, we'll get a bigger house. So what happened was we put it up on the market, and the open market was like, yeah, we'll pay crazy amounts of money for it. She literally sold it for a price that you probably, like, your jaw would drop. And it was really, really crazy. And I even said to myself, oh my gosh, this is insane that someone's going to pay like close to $350,000 for your 600 square foot home.
Yeah.
But it was so close to the beach. And so do you see how that kind of, that works on that one?
Yes, definitely. So market value in itself, it says, is the present worth of one commodity to draw on the open market. So how much an item costs has no relevance to its value. Okay. So market value is literally just how.
Is what it should sell for on the open market.
Okay.
So like if we were putting it out there, how much should it sell for? So here's the thing. There's 2 things that you'll see. Market value and market price. Okay. Market price is what it actually sells for, okay? Market value is like based on an estimate, what it should sell for. Like we're like, oh, it should sell for this. So like I gave her, when I was looking at the comparables to it, I said, oh, it should sell for this. Sold for more than that. We were very happy. So that's a good thing. So let's look at the next one.
Okay. A buyer, Joe, and a seller, Stephen, both signed a purchase contract. What kind of title interest, if any, does Joe have in the property at this point? Equitable, alta, legal, defeasible. A buyer, Joe, and seller, Stephen, both sign a purchase contract. What kind of title interest, if any, does Joe have in the property at this point? So they've both signed the contract, the purchase contract. What does Joe? Joe's the buyer. I'm not sure. I'm going to say equitable. But I don't really know.
Equitable. Let's see. I mean, that's right. But, yeah, that's right. So let's talk about, because here's the thing. This is another thing I'm going to tell you. You ready? Okay. And you'll love this you'll love this statement. If you get a question right, but you do not know how you got it right, it's the same as getting it wrong. You're walking away with no knowledge. Okay. So the thing is this: just because you got it right, I don't want you treating a question that you get right, and you don't understand how you got there as a right answer, because again, it's the same. So like, here's the thing. If I gave you another equitable title question, would you be able to answer it and get it right? The answer to that is another 25% chance. So we're trying to increase our odds on this one.
Right.
So here's what happens. Equitable title. So there's 2 different types of title. There's equitable title and legal title. Okay. So the person who has a legal title is the one who has title. Okay. They're the ones who hold it. Okay. Got it. Done. Boom. The ones who have equitable title, okay, are the ones that would have an interest in it, but do not hold legal title. So when you sign a contract, like a sales contract, also in different types of financing, like if you were doing a trust deed, what happens is the purchaser would have what is referred to as equitable title, okay? Meaning that they have an interest in it. It's not that they have no interest in it, but it's basically a person's right to, in the future, obtain full ownership, okay? So when you have equitable title, it just says, hey, at some point, you're going to be able to have full legal title to the property. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me on that one?
So can you tell me what legal title is again?
Actual title is like holding title.
They're holding
so like
it.
If I own, if I own a property, okay. Let's say I pay for property cash. Let's say I'm bougie. I take $200,000 out of the bank, and I go and I buy a home cash. I am then going to hold legal title to the property. Okay.
Just like a car title.
Just like yes, oversimplification of it. In this scenario, it is like a car title. In a lot of other scenarios, not so much. But for this example, if we're trying to talk about equitable and legal title, that's the oversimplification of it. Could definitely be related to a car title.
Okay.
You know? So definitely,
equitable title just means that at some point they have interest, and at some point they will have full legal title.
Opportunity to have full legal title at some point.
Okay.
Yep. Next one.
Okay. A fixed rate home loan that is fully amortized according to the original payment schedule has an interest rate that fluctuates based on the economic index. Permits the borrower to pay the same amount each payment period. Permits cannot be sold in the secondary market, requires a monthly payment that fluctuates each month. Okay, a fixed rate home loan that is fully amortized according to the original payment schedule has an interest rate, so that's wrong. It does not, if it's a fixed rate, it does not have an interest rate that fluctuates. That's wrong. Permits the borrower to pay the same amount of payment each period. Yes, but you can overpay. Cannot be sold in the secondary market. Could be. Requires a monthly payment that fluctuates each month. No. So it's either B or C. Permits the borrower to pay the same amount each payment period, and it cannot be sold in the secondary market. Fixed rate home loan is fully amortized according to the original payment schedule. Well, maybe since it says it's the original payment schedule, we're not talking about the secondary market. So I'm going to go with B.
I think, okay, we're going to go with B. Let's see.
I'm overthinking.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Again, you got the right answer, but you basically were trying to do open heart surgery to my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, cool, awesome. And here's the thing. It's really hard. Like, it's really hard to say to you, everyone has the same problem too, where they just go into it and they start adding all these scenarios and they create this scenario that is absolutely craziness. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh dear God. Like, no, it's asking you about the black cat and what color the black cat is. Like, we're good. So a fixed rate home loan that is fully amortized according to the original payment schedule permits the borrower to pay the same amount each month, like an amortization table. It's just a fully amortized loan that at the end of it, it's going to be fully done, over with. You know, that's it. Nothing else that you really need to sit there and go, oh man, you know, I really need to do this, that, and the other. No. Right. You're good. So.
So it does say fully. It did say that. Well, I'm still overthinking it. It's okay. We can move on.
I know you are. I know. Listen to what I'm telling you. Honestly, The reason why I usually just click off of a question is because there is absolutely nothing good that will further come of chewing on that question.
Okay.
You got it right. You got it right. You overthought it. You could pull back a little bit. There's nothing else to really think about with that one. Whereas opposed to another one where you get it, you get it right, and you're like, I have no clue what equitable title is. Then we have to talk about that, you know?
Okay.
So let's look at this one.
Okay. When planning a subdivision, a developer should determine the kinds of lands used to be involved and the amounts of land to be allocated to each by considering the customs of the area and what other developers have already done, what he considers an ideal development, what are the most profitable types of buildings to construct, the comprehensive plan of the local government. I think it's D. I say that because don't you have to get zone, you have to get zoning, you have to see what the land is. Well, I guess he already knows the land. So when planning a subdivision, so he already, okay, then I changed to A. Because he already knows those things.
So why A? Sell me on A.
Okay,
Sell me on A rather than D.
Okay, so when planning a subdivision, a developer should determine the kinds of lands to be used and the amounts of land to be allocated to each use by considering, well, why I chose D originally was because I thought that he would need to look at, the developer would need to look with the city planning.
Sure.
So that's why I chose D.
And I like that one.
Okay.
I like that one. So sell me on A.
So A is why I think it might be A is because he already is planning a subdivision. So he already knows it can be developed for that purpose. So it would.
So time out. Where did you get that information?
That what?
That story you just told me where he already knows it. Where did you get that?
It says he's planning a subdivision, so.
Okay, sure.
So I would think he maybe
Where did you get, so you're creating something that isn't actually there. You're creating something that doesn't exist. You're creating a story. So listen to this. Why is it not the customs and areas and what other developers have done? Because I'm going to tell you this. A lot of times when properties are being built and everything, they want to go with the newest, latest, greatest, most amazing, and they want to stand out. So the truth of the matter is, when I'm building a new development with a developer, he's not asking me, how do I look like all the other homes in this area? The developer says to me, how do I wow and blow the doors off of everybody?
Yeah.
And they don't care. Like, they say to me, like, I was doing a 30-house townhome development, and I said to someone, I said, well, here's some floor plans of other townhomes in the area. This is what they look like. He goes, yeah, if I wanted to sell those, he said, I would just buy them, redo them, and flip them. He's like, I don't want to do that. He said, I want to sell something completely different that people are going to just drool over. We'll sell them in 15 seconds and be out the door. So he didn't care about what other developers did or what the customs of that area were. He was like, I want to blow the socks off people.
Right.
We were like, okie dokie.
That makes sense. And you do have to do what I said. Yeah.
You added stuff to it. It's like when a chef brings you, like, I'm a big meat eater. So when a chef brings you, I order $150 steak or $200 steak, and the chef brings it out himself because I bought such a bougie steak. And before it even hits the table, I start grabbing for the salt shaker and I try to salt it. He slaps my wrist and goes, what are you doing? Don't do that. Don't add things to my work. Same thing with the questions. And that's why I even asked you. I said, where are you getting that inference from?
Yeah.
Like, it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. Because here's the thing. This is my argument with what you did. You don't know what stage he's at. Right. It just says when planning a subdivision. And you're like, oh, well, he's already done that. And I'm like,
Yeah, he might. Yeah.
Like that's why they were like, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep
No,
going.
that makes sense. Yep. Okay. When can a landlord evict a blind or otherwise disabled tenant from the premise? If the tenant insists on a handicap parking place, no. If a tenant has loud parties and makes too much noise, maybe. If a tenant gets a service dog and the apartment policy does not allow pets. If a tenant makes modifications to the unit at his own expense, no. I think
Sesame Street song. One of these things is not like the other.
Well, here's my thoughts. This is what's going on in my crazy head is anybody could get, you can't discriminate against them. So anybody could have a loud party and make too much noise and get evicted, I guess. I don't know. I think it's C. If he has a service dog and the apartment policy doesn't allow pets. That seems kind of harsh, but that's what I think.
That is kind of harsh, and that's also illegal. And the only one in here that doesn't have to do with their disability is that he literally is loud and obnoxious. You could get evicted for that. Like,
okay.
If they say, like, if you're in an apartment building and they're like, dude, you literally put moon bounce shoes on your wheelchair and you were just tap dancing across the wooden floors. Like, yeah, I mean, those are all reasons why you could get evicted. But having a service dog when no dogs are allowed, nope, ADA says that's why everyone right now is doing the bougie thing and going, oh, this is a support chinchilla. You know, no, it's not a support chinchilla. You don't need that for therapy. However, but if they do, you can't say anything. Also, if the tenant makes modifications at his own expense, that's totally cool. Or if he insists on a handicap parking place, totally cool as well. Okay. So the only one that doesn't fit is going to be tenant has loud parties.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Before we wrap up, is there any other questions, concerns, burning desires that you're like, Stu would need to get this and figure this one out?
No, this has been really helpful for me just to even get like a summary of like kind of a game plan together. Honestly, is really what I was like hoping the most for to get tonight. So you really helped me with that to really focus on my vocabulary, which is clear that I need to do, my vocab.
Vocab, and I think also, I think like the one thing that, you know, because you don't know until you start doing the questions. I also think that the way that you were approaching the questions, I think that there's a lot of that you could get out of what we did, because I think that if you just did questions by yourself, you wouldn't realize how you're actually adding all of these inferences and creating this story that isn't there.
For sure.
Like, it's just, you're doing something that, and again, common.
Yeah.
But we need to break that, because
for sure
you're adding things in there. And here's the thing. You're not getting the question wrong, because here's the thing. I rather you get a question wrong and say to me, Stu, I had no clue what the answer was. But if you're getting a question wrong that you have studied, worked on, and you have the knowledge in your brain, and you just did it because you just were like, no, I'm going to just literally add extra stuff. You're going to salt the $200 steak. That's on you, you know. And that's something that, look, I could sit here and add all the knowledge that I possibly could, but unless you stop yourself from doing that and recognize that you're doing that, that's going to, you can have all the knowledge in the world and fail.
And I'm going to, exactly. Yeah, no, so, that's helpful to know as well. And some good videos to watch. And I think I'll try to schedule another session with you. I'll try to kick it into studying gear here in the next, couple days to really focus on the vocab and
we'll see where you are with the questions.
I think that'd be kind of a good way to wrap up on Monday or Tuesday before I give it a go.
Sure. And this is what I'm going to tell you too. Schedule me sooner rather than later because I book up quick. But I have one last question for you.
Okay.
I do record these and I do put them out on my YouTube so that other people could see them and kind of, if they could get a benefit from it, great. Also kind of see what the, private lessons are that we do. So is this something you'd be okay with me sharing this out with everybody?
Sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Because honestly, I think this went really well. And also, if you look at my YouTube channel, you'll see I actually have other private sessions on there. So if you want to look, you could actually see a bunch of different ones that I've done too. So you can kind of go on there and be like, okay, let me see what that one was. Let me see what that one was.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Okay, well, great. Well, look, I look forward to working with you again. And look, have a good weekend. All right.
Yeah, it's going to be full of studying, but it'll be good. So.
Well, look, don't go too crazy. And like I said, good luck, and I'll see you again soon. All right.
Yep. Sounds good. I'll go try to book right now, and we'll keep moving along. So thank you for your help. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Have a great one.
Yeah. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.